Straw for the House, a retelling of the Japanese folktale Warashibe Chouja by P.J. Leonard. Part 3. With a knowing wink, the old man hobbled away and disappeared through a creaky door at the back of the shop. Tina had half a mind to make a run for it right now, to dash home, bury her head in her pillow, and be done with this strange day. But curiosity got the better of her. She followed him through the door. Inside was perfectly dark. Tina could have bet that she could wave her hand before her face and not see it.
"Just a moment,"
the old man grunted, and with a flick of a switch, a light blinked into life. They were in a garage. The walls were stacked with shelf upon shelf, with rusting toolboxes, cans of half-open paint, and oily rags. But it was what lay in the centre of the garage that really caught Tina's eye.
"Vintage sports hatchback, barely used," the old man said, circling around the car. "I've had this for almost as long as I've had this shop. Only ever taken it out for a drive each Sunday to keep it ticking over."
He tossed the key over to Tina, whose brain seemed to be working through syrup. She groped clumsily at the flying key, fumbled, and dropped it. She didn't pick it up.
"It's all yours," the old man insisted. "Please, take it."
Tina let a short, sharp laugh escape her, more like a bark. She held a hand over her mouth. I can't," she said. "How can... It just looks so expensive." The old man chuckled.
"Oh, it is. And I still feel like I'm robbing you blind by offering this in exchange for that china set. But this is the best thing I have to offer you."
"I can't take this," said Tina, looking over the impeccable eggshell blue paintwork and through the window into the cream leather interior. She leaned down, picked up the key, and held it out to the old man. "I'm sorry, I can't." The old man smiled, a kind smile, and pushed Tina's hand away.
"I must insist," he said. "I cannot in good conscience take that china from you without giving you a good trade. Speaks against every fibre of my being, I'm afraid. Besides, if you don't like it, you'll be able to get a most fine trade with this, I think."
The old man laughed. Tina gave a weak smile. If only he knew.
"Then it's settled," he said merrily, taking Tina's free hand and shaking it vigorously. "Ah, what a most glorious day this is! Come, come, let's get you on the road." He flung open the garage door, and in spilled sunlight. The car gleamed emerald green in the warm rays. "Hop in," said the old man, opening the door for her and beckoning her inside. Feeling extremely awkward, she slid inside and wrapped her shaking fingers around the steel steering wheel. She twisted the key in the ignition, and the car purred into life. Her nerves melted a little. It wasn't that much different from her own little car, really. All the important parts were there and in pretty much the same place, albeit this was much cleaner. Could she even afford to upkeep this thing? The old man waved her out of the garage like a mechanic at a pit stop, his glasses flashing in the afternoon sun. He couldn't have looked happier. Slowly, ever so slowly, she edged the car out of the garage. "Take good care of her," the old man beamed as she rolled past. "And thank you again." The old man stepped back into the garage and slid the door down. For a moment, Tina just sat there, dumbfounded, the engine rumbling quietly. How had she come to this point, sitting in this retro car behind an antique shop? This was one very bizarre day. Tina drove the car as if it were made out of glass, creeping around corners and holding up traffic. Her hands were slick with sweat, slipping on the metal steering wheel. "Just get it home,"
she told herself. Get it home and we'll decide what to do with it then. But what can I possibly do with this thing? I can't possibly keep it. She pulled up at a traffic light, and another car pulled up beside her. Straight away, she could sense the driver's eyes looking her way. She was getting used to it. Apparently, this was a well-known car among people who knew stuff about cars. She had no idea. To her, cars were just machines that got people from A to B quicker than walking. The light stayed red. Still, she could feel the other driver's eyes trained onto her. She chanced a glance across. A big, burly man with buzz-cut hair and sunglasses was looking right at her. Before she could look away, he pointed silently across the road to the nearby petrol station. Did he want her to pull over? Whatever for? The light went green. Tina gingerly put her foot on the accelerator pedal. Should she pull over? What on earth could that scary-looking guy want? She could just drive away and think nothing of it. But, once again, her curiosity overpowered her. She twisted the steering wheel and pulled up into the petrol station. The man's car followed her. He stepped out, standing to his full height and dressed in an impeccable black suit. Tina stayed in her car, hand on the handbrake, ready to make a quick getaway, just in case. Then, another man stepped out from the passenger seat in the back. He was about as different from the suited man as was possible. He was short, thin, and had a sun-kissed tan. The short man said something quickly, and the suited man nodded. He turned and tapped lightly on the window of Tina's car. "Excuse me, ma'am. A quick word, if we may." He sounded very posh. Tina had never been called a ma'am before. She unbuckled her seatbelt and stepped out. The short man immediately started talking in some strange, flowery language at light speed, throwing his hands in the air and eyes bulging at the sight of Tina's car. "This is my client, Alfonso Aldesi," said the man in the suit. "He is a racing driver. He's very interested in your car. Is it an original?" "Oh, yes," said Tina, without thinking. Then more confidently, "No parts replaced, barely used." The man in the suit turned and translated what Tina had said for Alfonso. The biggest, brightest smile Tina had ever seen spread across Alfonso's face. He ran a hand through his thick black hair and started pacing around the car, talking some more. "Mr. Aldesi wishes he could buy the car from you," said Alfonso's agent. "However, he's currently broke. He had a bad streak of runs lately. Prize money and sponsors have dried up." "That's too bad," said Tina, frowning. Where on earth was this going? "But he does have a proposition for you," said the agent. "There is a derby on the edge of town this week, vintage cars only. If you let him race this car at the derby and he wins, he can keep the car and you get first prize." "What's the prize?" asked Tina. The agent shrugged. "No idea, ma'am. They change it every year, and it's always a secret. They say it's because they don't want the racing to be about the winning, whatever that means." Tina rubbed her chin. I'm not sure. It does seem like a big gamble. What if you damage the car in the race?" Alfonso had made a full circle around the car and came up to face Tina. He gestured towards the car. "This car, family," he said in a thick accent. "My, come see, father's father, he, make." Tina frowned deeper. Then her eyes widened. "Your grandfather made this car?" Alfonso nodded furiously, then talked rapidly in that flowery language again. "This car is in his blood, he says," said the agent. "With this car, he knows he can win. Do we have a deal?" Tina scratched her head. This wasn't another straight trade like the others. Even if Mr. Aldacey did win the race, the prize might be rubbish and she'd have lost her car. But then she watched Alfonso as he bent double to look inside the car, the light reflecting from the windows and shining in his eyes. Tina looked down to the decorative piece on the bonnet. It was an A with wings. Tina held out her hand. "Deal," she said. Alfonso leapt up and gripped her hand firmly. "Grazie, grazie, signora!" "Thank you, Ma'am," said the agent. "You won't regret it." "I hope not," thought Tina. End of part 3.